Daddy was down at the barn with John, and he says, "Where's the baby? Where's the baby? Where's Mary Ann?" I says, "Oh, she's asleep up there under the tree in her bed." "Under the tree?" He said, "Good for her." I said, "Yes, Daddy, that's good for her." I'd give her a bath, and I'd rub her with oil. I mean, not mineral oil or olive oil. It was baby Crisco. No. Baby oil.
Yeah.
Oh, I would just rub her real good, real good. Wash it and rub her little feet real good. Put fresh clothes on her, and I'd feed her. And I'd burp her, and I'd put her to bed, and she would sleep. I mean, I had no trouble with her. I'd lay her in there, and she'd just look around, look at the tree leaves on the trees, you know, 'cause in the shade under that. Remember that old box elder? The old box elder tree that's cut off. That's where I put her, under that tree. And he worried about her being out under that tree, up there by herself. Ain't you afraid something get out? Oh, there ain't nothing going to get her. No, it's just that was. He was something else. Daddy was.
I know. I want to ask you a question. How did you pick this place, particular piece of land, to build a home? Did you build this home?
Yeah.
Did you?
And there was nothing here but an old slave cabin up here on the hill.
Really?
I told you this was a tobacco farm.
Right.
This was a tobacco farm.
And there was a slave house up on this
Right
hill
here,
area?
up here on the hill.
Really?
When he bought this place was 1939, wasn't it? 1939. And where did you, I don't remember now, Charles, by the name of Riley. And you met this man and he told you there was a piece of land up here for sale, didn't he? That's how it was. And that man was
George
the one
Ryan
that printed.
was a printer, and he lived there on Jackson Street, just a couple
Doors down from where you lived.
of war millers.
Yeah, where you were living. And he's the man that printed our wedding announcements.
Was it?
He was the one that printed our wedding announcements.
So there was nothing here then?
And he, John and friends of his built that one room right there. And we lived in that one room for 6 years.
Really? Wow.
And then we added on. We poured concrete. This is concrete floor here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we dug. Oh, Jesus, did we dig? We dug and we dug and we dug and we dug some more. And finally got the concrete forms set in, and he hauled all this gravel out of that creek and piled it up here on the damn hill, just above my flower bed over here, or where my bird feeder is over here. And we mixed every spoonful of that concrete in an old, we sold that to the fellow that fixed our roof, concrete mixer. And we had the neighbors to come in and help us to pour the concrete. Neighbors helped neighbors. You didn't have to pay them. You went out and helped as much as they helped you. You know what I'm saying? And the help that he had here, I had to feed. I had to cook for him. And I did. I cooked damn good meals for him. I told him, I remember the one time I told him, I says, I didn't know what to cook. One day I had fixed chicken and dressing and mashed potatoes and gravy and green beans and hot biscuits and everything you could think of, you know. She had had enough for 25 people. And I told him they cleaned up everything. Everything was cleaned up. Nothing was wasted. Whatever was left, was left, we had that little dabble for supper. Well, the next day I had to start out new scratch again, see. And I asked him, I says, what in the hell can I fix for dinner now? I says, I had chicken yesterday. He said, well, fix chicken again today. I said, no, I can't fix chicken. He says, go fix chicken again. So I did. I went out there and I got 2 of them. Not 1, 2. Cleaned them, skinned them, cut the meat off of the bone and ground it up and made meatloaf out of it. That's the best damn meatloaf they ever ate.
Did you build this cistern out here?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many? Do you know how many gallon it was?
It
12
holds.
foot square. 12 foot square. Big as this room,
Yeah.
but it's not as deep. It's not 8 foot deep. It's about 7, I guess. You can stand up in it.
Yes, you can. I know, 'cause I stood in it many a time, scrubbing it out. Yeah, but that's the way it goes.
This Joe Pope was a contractor there in Winsfield. We went hunting together a couple of times.
And that's who you bought the cement mixer from, wasn't it?
And I says, do you use that mixer anymore? And he says, no. He says, he uses ready mix.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring it to where he's working, the
What up?
Foundation. And I said, well, I'd like to buy that mixer from you then. And so I paid him $40 for that mixer. And when I sold it, I got $100 for the mixer and $100 for the engine. So I got $200 back out of that $40.
That's a pretty good investment.
But when we built the barn, I knew I needed a lot of gravel and sand. Well, I don't know how many truckloads of sand and gravel I hauled up there, but
This way.
Really?
yeah, I shoveled
You're
it on
damn
the
right.
truck
He
and
shoveled
shoveled
it
it
on
off.
Shoveled it on with the truck and he shoveled it off with the
And-
truck. Sometimes he had a little help from me, but very little help.
I was going to ask you what your
I
thoughts were.
priced cement, Portland cement.
Now wait a minute, don't go any further. Tell him how you got that cement.
From Percy Gillette. There at Weldon
And
Spring.
you sold your herd bull to buy the damn cement.
Is that right?
He sold the herd bull to buy the cement.
I priced it at
Listen to
the
it.
lumber yards here, and at that time, an 80-pound bag of Portland cement was selling for anywhere from $1.25 to $1.50 at the local lumber yards. And I happen to think of Percy Gillette, a boy I used to,
Was a neighbor of his that he used to run around with.
yes, there, and
The TNT.
he was running that TNT lumber yard there at Weldon Spring at the time. And I says, Percy, I says, what's the best price you can make me on Portland cement? And he says, well, John, he says, if he don't have to handle it, he'd let me have it at what it cost him. 50 cents a bag.
That's right.
Mm.
We
And
sold our herd bull so that he could
I
pay for
says,
that.
I'll be down, and he said he just got a boxcar load of it in, and he says I could have as much as I needed of it. So I went down there with a truck, and I got a truckload of cement, and started out when we built our barn. But gosh, we had a half a dozen of the neighbors here shoveling sand and gravel to keep that mixture going.
Yeah, and do you know what day it was? The day that we poured the concrete in that damn barn? You want to know the day it was? 1st of November, the Feast of All Saints. And do you know that we got permission from our priest to do it? Because that was the day, and it didn't fall on a Sunday, it fell on a Saturday. And he said, it's a Feast of All Saints. He says, you have everything ready to go? He says, go ahead, you have my permission. So we went ahead. whole Feast of All Saints, 1st of November, that they poured that damn
That was
concrete.
the priest in Flint Hill.
Mhm.
What was his name?
You don't remember who that man was? Father Schmidt.
Couldn't think of it at the time.
Father Schmidt,
But
yeah.
he came this one afternoon when I was working down there
Digging out for the barn.
breaking rock. And he was a big man. I guess he'd have weighed 250 or better.
He was 6'6" and all muscle. I mean, there was no fat on that man. He
said-
worked.
He said, John, he said, there's a certain way you can hit that rock to break it. And I said, well, I've tried every which way I could.
And
And
he had it pulled out. He had it pulled out of the hole. It was out there where you saw where the rocks are down there where you walked
Mhm.
into the barn in the
Yeah.
back. He had it pulled out there. And Father was going to show him how to break that rock.
Yeah,
Now you tell him how he was dressed.
it was
He
a
took off his coat. He had
a
his
big
coat on.
rock. Now I'm telling you, it was a big rock.
It's that one that's sitting there on the
Well,
hillside.
it's
It's
it was about 8
deteriorating
foot
now.
across and about 4 foot tall.
It was a mess.
I had managed to get under it enough to get a track jack under it, and I put a bridge plank up on the handle of the jack and run the tractor up on it to push it down. And I got it broke loose, and then I took some I-beams and put under it after I got it raised, jacked up, and then I rigged a chain up to hook it to the tractor to drag it out of there. But the rock was heavier than the tractor, so the tractor wheels would just spin. Couldn't get any traction. So Virginia called me to dinner, and I come by the wood pile, and I said, well, there's my answer right there in the wood pile. And after I had lunch, well, I took a wheelbarrow and I threw, I guess about a dozen pieces of firewood on there that was about 8 inches or so in diameter, and wheeled it down there, and then I jacked those I-beams up and put them round blocks of wood under it, and then I had it on rollers, and then I could move it.
That's the way he moved that big rock out of
So
there.
I got it moved out of there. And
Finish
I did
telling
the
about
one
Father.
winter-
Finish telling him now about Father Schmidt.
Oh. He took his coat off, spit in the palm of his hands. And I had a 16-pound quarry hammer that I was hitting it with. And he took a healthy swing at that, and it just bounced off.
Bounced him up off his feet. I mean, it jerked him up off his feet.
And he says, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. But that's how I got that rock moved out of there, is by putting it up on them I-beams. And them I-beams are still standing up holding the lean-to up over there. And
Yeah, they're in the concrete, aren't
yeah, I
they?
was wondering how in the hell I was going to move it. And
How did you guys come up with the whole idea of selling the property to the state
To the county.
or to the county?
Well, a fella from Kansas City came out. A little neighbor lived up a hill there. She and I and John and a few of the other neighbors fought the Corps of Engineers about the dam up there
Right, I
on the hill.
remember that.
Okay? And she kept in touch with these guys that from Kansas City and what have you. And he came down to let her know, or wanted to know, where all the Indian artifacts were found on this farm over here. Well, she didn't know anything about it, so she brought him down here. And he had a map that was big as a table there, and he unrolled it, you know, and this is where they're going to put the horse barn, right here, you know. And I says, what? Yeah, they're going to have horses, and they're going to have the horse barn right here. And I says, and when the wind's from the east, I says, all the hell I'm going to do is smell horse shit? I says, I don't think so. I says, I don't think so. And Barbara, this girl that brought him down, the fella talked to us, you know, and told us what he knew about it and what he wanted to know about this, where the Indian artifacts were found and what have you. And she says, you know, Virginia, she says, you know, you'd be smart to get in touch with the Parks Department and see what they'd offer you for it. See if they'd be interested in it. And that's where it went from there. Right from there. They came out here, Betty, her first name's Betty, I'll give you the other, Betty Jan Kramer is her name, Betty Jan Kramer. She came out with another fellow from the office, and she saw those big trees. She fell in love with it. It was cool down here, and it was just beautiful when they showed up. You know, it was in October, and it was just, no, it was in August. Louise was out in Arizona. I don't know where the hell she was. Didn't have a telephone number. Didn't know where the hell she was. Susie was up there. We hadn't heard from her. Kathy was down there in Oklahoma. Nobody was around. Jeannie was around. And we talked with Jeannie, and she says, well, Mama, she says, it's your place. You do with it whatever you want to do. And I talked Daddy into it. I says, honey, there's 8 girls. I says, there's 7 living. And Marianne's 2 little girls will get her share. I says, how are you going to cut this farm up in 8 pieces to get them all to have a right amount? Well, he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it, and I talked him into it. I says, John, you wanted to go back to the Indians. This is as close to the Indians as you're going to get it. It's going to be in a natural park. It's going to be left in its natural state. Well, he finally conceded. He said, yeah, well, I guess that's what we'll do. And so they came out and told us what they had the papers all made out and what have you, and what they were going to give us, and we said okay, and that was it. We got $460,000 for it. I'm telling you, he's there, and he's here, and you're here, and I'm here. I'm not a bit ashamed to say it. We got $460,000 for it. We give $20,000 to each one of our daughters. We gave Marianne's daughters, Elizabeth, $10,000, and Susanna $10,000. That was Marianne's share. We put the rest in the trust.
Good.
We've got 3 daughters that are like this because we didn't ask them what we thought, what they thought. And it's Louise, Susan, and Catherine. Well, it's our place, mine and his and mine.
And the good thing is that everybody, it's going to be here now for everybody to come and enjoy it.
Do you think that those girls, now I'm not mad at them, I'm just upset with them. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think those girls would come out here and clean the damn road from the county road up to the house and sweep the sidewalk off? Do you think that they would come out and paint the whole outfit? Do you think they would come out and fix the fences and mow the grass and do this and do that? Hell no, they don't have time. That's what is done for us. Mm-hmm. They come out and mow the grass. They put gravel in the road, not once, twice. They got it even fixed up, John, that there's not a bounce to go up on the county road. Remember when John Sexton was here a couple weeks ago before he went to Texas, and I asked him to put a note on the blackboard to let him know that I wanted this week. They came that afternoon and fixed it up. Yeah. Honest to God. Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, we couldn't have done anything any better for our kids. Not only did we leave them a legacy, when he and I died, they will get a little chunk of money.
Right, right.
And
they don't
if
have to
the
fight
girls,
over it.
And if the girl, that's right, they don't have to fight over it. And the girls that are upset because they weren't notified, well, Louise didn't notify us when she sold her home.
Mhm.
Susie didn't notify us when she bought her home. Kathy didn't notify us when she did whatever she did. Why do we have to tell them? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that's the way I feel. That's the way I feel. I think we did the best for our kids. And as long as they live, and as long as they want to, after we're gone and forgotten, their kids and their grandkids and their great-grandkids can come out here and say, this is where we were raised. This is where my great-grandma was raised.
Right. I think it's great.
This is something that a lot, even I was telling John, I says, even all those intelligent people and smart people that he worked with in St. Charles and in St. Louis, there wasn't a damn one of them that left their family a legacy like that. And this is what I think is the most important thing on earth. I really believe this. Maybe I'm cuckoo, I don't know. But I believe this with my heart and my soul, that those kids can come out here any damn day of the week that they want to, when the park is open. I mean, while we're still here, we can have as much company as we want, as many as we want. And if I say you can go down to the creek and fish, you can go down to the creek and fish. If I want you, you can go down. You are my family. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But there's not to be any shooting. No hunting of any kind. You can go fishing, you can go wading, you can go rock hunting, you can do any damn thing. No hunting of any kind. But that's what caused us to sell the place. I was not going to smell horse yet.
Right.
And it was going to be right there where our loading chute is, in that
Really?
corner. Yeah, right there. As you make the corner,
Yeah.
when our loading chute is here, right here was where it's going to be.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, it looked like that's the sprawl coming up 61 with all those houses that are on this side of 61. It just seems like that's just eventually just going to creep on up here.
It already has. Huh?
Has it?
Right here at Dietrich and 61.
Mm-hmm.
When was it? It was in November, wasn't it? In November that was there. It was right before Thanksgiving. And we went to the last meeting, and all of these people up here, and the ones that living back here, the ones that living up on the hill on big country acres, they had to have 3 acres to build their home on, and here they're going to put in 340 unit home. It'd probably be like this shit and mess there at Flint Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And 300, low income family.
Mm.
What's back here behind the end of your property back there? Who owns all that back up in there? Is that all woods or is it farms or what?
No. You can cross Big Creek. As you remember how we used to cross
Yeah.
Big Creek and go over there to the other field?
Yeah.
Well, from there on, there's nothing but homes.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hell, it's right down to the creek almost.
They built right there.
In the lowland,
in a
right there in the lowland
floodplain.
in the creek, yeah. And do you know what they told his brother? Lincoln County Hoosiers told his brother? When the creeks come out, the water goes right to his basement. When the creeks come out, they told him that he didn't live in the floodplains, that he lived in the, how the hell did they get that off?
Backwater.
Backwaters. He lived in the backwaters lands.
Well, we never had any backwater. We never got any water in our basement until they built this dual lane highway down here.
When you got onto Dietrich Road, when you got onto the highway, no. When they built this new highway, the one that after you leave here, it'll be the first one that you go out. That'll be that was the new one that they built. The other one was the old one. Okay. They took soil and built this up, built that highway up another 8 foot.
Mm.
Where'd they get the soil from?
From up above, they pushed it down this way and hauled it with
And
the
from up above
big
here.
scoops.
They hauled big truckloads of it from up here.
Mm.
Up here on the hill, because you had to go almost straight up the hill over here. But it's like this now.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And right up there on the hill, when you're going north, there's a right after you cross the bridge, the little woods that's in there. That was where it was a stagecoach stop.
Really?
That's where the stagecoach stopped. Right up there on the hill.
Really?
So, John, does your brother still own that property back there?
Pardon?
Does your brother still own
Yeah,
that
he's
property
still
back
over
there?
there.
Really?
He's still over there.
Still over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he's still over there.
So is he going to do the same thing? Contact the county or?
Oh, we don't know. We haven't spoken to him in years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was, his daughter was, his oldest daughter was the one that caused all the trouble.
Mm.
She was the one that caused all the trouble. She wrote home and wrote back to Japan that Uncle John was stealing the firewood, stealing the trees over there, and selling the firewood, which was the biggest bunch of bullshit that you ever heard. And the only wood that he took from those was the trees that fell, and he cut them up and brought them home for firewood.
Mm-hmm.
He'd have done the same damn thing if he was over there and he had to take care of this property. His brother would have done the same damn thing. That's the only wood that he ever took off of that damn place.
He wasn't even of age when I bought that over there for him.
Really?
He'd got a job working for the railroad, and they was on one of these hand cars. You've seen them probably.
Yeah.
And a train come, and they had to jump off of it.
And he got hurt.
Mm.
He got hurt, and they gave him $600 for his injuries and what have you. And I figured, well, he'll piss it away. So I thought, if I buy that over there for him, then he'll have something. Well, I bought it.
And you should have put your name on it.
We had Edgar Rapp from St. Charles come out and survey it. And according to our deed, ours went across the creek, and it was a rectangle. The way surveying was done for years, and Lester Prinster come out and was brown-nosing him over there.
He got free firewood.
They was giving him firewood and whatever. And he said, well, let me look at your deed and see what it reads like. And it said that he owned what was in Lincoln County. And I says, now, our deed, our abstract leads a lot different. Because it read that it was in a rectangle and it had been surveyed and recorded there at the courthouse in St. Charles. But Eddie got a surveyor there in Lincoln County in this, what was his name, that lawyer there in Lincoln County?
Oh, I can't think of his name right now. Doesn't make any difference.
Well, anyway.
Tom somebody.
They told him to tear my fences down over there and let my cattle out. They was going to assume ownership of it, more or less. And
But the son of a bitch did.
this
Cut his
one
dick, huh?
time, Mrs. Creech from across the creek stopped in. He said, John, your cattle are out there on the road headed down toward the highway, out that other county road. And I went over there, and they had opened the gate, and they went into Myers Field there, and then they closed the gate, so they couldn't get out on the highway. And I went over there, and I called them and opened the gate out on toward the road, so they wouldn't go down on the highway. And then after they got started, headed back toward the house, well, I walked ahead of them. And they followed me. and I got them home. Well,
They're just like a bunch of dogs. There was trainers all get out.
after they tore my fences out, well, I couldn't leave them over there anymore. And Virginia said, well, we ain't making any money on them, on the raising cattle anyway. So she said, just sell them and get rid of them. And so we got rid of them.
Oh, that was a long time after that, though, that we got
Yeah.
rid of them. We didn't get rid of them right away.
But when Eddie's boy was here that one time. He was saying, well, we'd like to try and get along with you. And I says, tell me about it. I says, all he's been is trouble for me. And I says, it'd be best if he just stayed where he is.
Where he was in Japan?
No, he's over there. Yeah, he was in Japan for years. That's where his
For
kids were
30
born.
years, mind you.
Really?
And I put the fences up over there myself and went to the expense of putting the fence posts and everything in and did the work myself. And
With your daughter and husband
yes,
and wife.
and I knew Jim Middicky's brother, Si. He worked for Bangert there at the quarry in St. Charles.
Bring that damn truck home full of, he'd go to work.
He says, if you need any limestone out there, John, he says, just back your truck under the bin here and help yourself anytime you're in town with your truck. And
Supper.
I don't know how
Turn
many
it off.
times.
I believe that is wrong. It was 3 degrees last night. And it's early in the morning.
Yeah, camera. Took some pictures on
It's
it.
different, isn't it? It's, I mean,
Different, ain't the word for it.
it is really,
It's unbelievable how it's
Well, what
changed.
did you win?
Well, let me put it this way. I cashed out $78.
Good. Well, good for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna lose the streak here for a while.
so, when they told me that, I decided that, I would just go to the cashier, get my money and leave, you know? Go directly to the bank, don't stop and go. She says, well, thank you, you don't have to do that. I said, I know I don't have to. They paid me in $100 bills. 70.
Hail Mary, full of grace. That's all. That's all. But it seemed like forever. I was in there went in there 5 minutes to 8, and it was 20 after 9 when I come out of there. So it took a little longer than Jeannie thought, but they had to put 2 balloons in it. And I was disappointed when I come out of there. All they did was put one little bandage on. I told her, I said, well, I'm kind of disappointed. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, I took the cap off of one of them and tasted it, and my God, it was the best damn stuff I ever drank in my life. Best damn stuff I ever drank in my life. And on Christmas, I gave each one of the girls just a drink like this. Oh my God, Mama, where did you get that? Where did you get that? I said, down in the basement, but you ain't getting any more of it. I just doled it out like it was medicine. It's fantastic. It's the best damn wine I ever drank in my life.
So all you took was the
Fruit.
fruit and put water over it 3 days and
Now, when I make my grape wine, and I use this as the same recipe for any kind of fruit, you use 20 pounds of grapes. Understand? You wash them, and you crush them, stem them. I stem them with my hands, and I crush them as I throw them in the bucket. That runs, it takes me an hour and 45 minutes to do that. Anyway, then when you've got your 20 pounds of grapes, you use 5 quarts of tap water. You don't want it real cold. You don't just tepid. You know what I'm saying? And you pour that on your grapes, and then you just stir them up real good and cover it with a tea towel, so dust and bugs can get them. And every morning and every evening, stir them up real good from the bottom to the top. And I use it with a spoon, stir them up. And then on the 4th morning, I run it through it's a muslin cloth, just like an old feed sack. Run it through that, strain it real good, and squeeze all the juice out of it that I can. And then I put 6 pounds, 7 pounds, or 8 pounds, whatever you want. If you use the 6 pounds of sugar, your wine will be dry. If you put the 8 pounds of sugar, this is what it's going to taste like. So I always use 8 pounds of sugar because I don't like dry wine.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether anybody else does. It doesn't make me any difference. I don't drink wine anyway. So I stir that up with my wooden spoon until the sugar is dissolved. It'll take you 5 minutes. Might take 10 minutes, to dissolve it. And then you put it, after the sugar is dissolved in this juice, you put it in gallon glass jugs
Mhm.
to within the neck on the jug is about this big, that long. And then you leave this much space underneath where the neck comes in. This much, like this. And you put your little bubbler on that.
Mhm.
And you put it like you put it in a corner somewhere where nobody walks, where there's no air flowing through it, where the temperature stays the same way. Used to, when I had my old wood stove in there, I would put it behind the wood stove. I'd put it on a tray, put the bottle jugs on a tray. Nobody bothered it. The
Mhm.
same temperature, it was fine. And you leave it until it quit bubbling. You can watch it, and within 24 hours, less than that, that little cap that's on that tube, that little cap that's over that will be jumping up, and you can see the bubbles.
Mhm.
Okay, and it usually takes from 8 to 10 weeks. If it's left alone, nobody bothers it. It usually takes about 10 weeks for it to ferment and to cook and to do what it's supposed to do. And then when it quits that fermenting and that little bubbler quits bubbling, it's a time for you to take it off and try it. And you try it, and it's not sweet enough, you could always add sugar to it. They do what they do in the wineries. They use boiled water and sugar syrup to dilute it. Now this isn't diluted. This is the real McCoy. You drink a glass of that and it'll knock you on your ass. You can drink a glass of that other stuff from, I don't care what kind it is, and you just barely feel a buzz, because this is the real McCoy.
What's the alcohol content?
About 900, I guess.
Just don't smoke by it, huh?
That's right. That's right.
No open flames.
That's right. But it is good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. Those black raspberries.
I don't think I've ever seen a black raspberry.
Well, you've seen red raspberries, you've seen blackberries.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say, it's a berry just about this big. Well, some of mine were this big.
Really?
We have enough rain in the spring of the year. Oh, they just blow up beautifully. And they make the finest damn pie you ever
Really?
ate. Oh,
bet.
Yeah,
God,
my
yes.
hunting lease, I found them last year.
Pardon?
On my hunting lease, I found them last year where you pull up to the barbed wire gate off the dirt road there. There's a big bush, I guess you'd call it. You know. And then I was walking down through the thickets and all, and I found some more. And this year I didn't go back to pick any, but right by the gate there's a bush, probably about that big.
Well, you know that when that branch comes out and that blooms, like last summer, come out, in the first week in June is when they start getting ripe. And when berries are picked off of it, you might as well just cut that thing off
Oh, really?
and get rid of it, because it dies. Because the new shoots that come out, that's what will have the berries on it the following year.
I didn't know that.
And if that damn thing hits the ground over here, it can do that. It'll grow like crazy, and then it'll hit the ground. It'll take root right there.
Well, this one bush is right by the gate. There's a not blackjack tree. What do you call those trees?
Locust.
It's little worthless trees. They grow big though.
Hackberry.
Hackberry, damn hackberry. Got a big hackberry tree back there. And part of the fence post is there, and I just happened to look over, and there it was, running right up on the fence.
And you pick those next summer. You go out there, you pick them. You get a gallon of berries, and you put them in a bucket. Well, hell, when you taste them, you won't put them in a bucket.
I know,
You'll just
put
eat
some
the damn
tray.
thing. You just put a little
Just
sugar.
sit there and-
Sugar. No, you get your dish of ice cream and cover it with these berries, and you've got a feast right there. They are the finest berry that. We used to have the red raspberries, and I don't like the smell of them. I don't like the taste of them. And I don't like. They smell like bug juice. They taste like bug juice smells.
You know,
They're nasty.
there was a guy, one of my customers used to buy like 10 or 12 crates of those red raspberries, and they grew them here in Missouri someplace, and they were really expensive because they're hand-picked. They're so...
Oh, well, who do you think picked mine? Mine were hand-picked too. And they were,
Well, but they're-
Alice came out that one summer, and we were out there in the garden. She says, Mama, she says, are the berries ripe yet? I said, well, honey, I don't know. I haven't been over there. She says, well, let me go in and get an ice cream bucket. And she says, and if they're ripe, she says, we'll pick some berries for some ice cream. I said, okay. So she run in here real quick, and she finds a little bucket, you know, a little plastic bucket, about this big, gallon bucket. She goes out there, and she picks a half a dozen. There they go. They don't go in the bucket. I says, well, get your tummy full first, and then put the rest in the bucket. Well, I gave her, and I gave Stephanie starts my black raspberries, and they took them up there to Nebraska with them. And I forgot to ask her about the trees that she got. They don't have sycamore trees up there, and they didn't have the maple tree like we have down here. And when she left home, she had wasn't that when Tim was here in August? No, it had to have been early spring. It had to have been early spring when they came, because you can't plant the tree in September, in August, and expect it to grow unless you water it there every 5 minutes, you know, because the sun's going to drag the water away from it and it's going to die. But anyhow, she took maple trees, she took sycamore trees. She must have taken a half a dozen sycamore trees that were just the size of my finger here. Oh, Mama, she says, I can't wait to get these planted to see what they do. They don't have any there. They don't have any. They got a lot of pine trees.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll grow up there.
I don't know.
The sycamore, is that a southern tree?
It doesn't have to be, I don't believe.
Huh.
I don't believe it has to be.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. But by gosh, I'm telling you, it's those raspberries just cannot be beat. And I got this start. Who did I get this start from?
Where did you do what?
Where did I get my start of black raspberries? No, Bill didn't have them.
What do we have here when you came?
No. I don't remember where I got my black raspberries from, but I've given black raspberry plants to everybody that ever wanted them. The fellow that helped John to put the roof in the porch came to help him, and I asked him, I says, Mike, I says, would you like to have some black raspberry plants? And he says, well, I wouldn't refuse them, but I don't know how to take care of them. I says, well, there ain't much to them. I says, after you pick them, after the berries are picked, I says, you cut out the vine that had or the stem that had the berries on it and trim them, make sure that, and when they grow up big, tie them to a fence or something, you know, so they don't fall on the ground. And so he was glad to get them. And he said that his son, little Michael, no, his name was Steve, little baby boy was little Steve. And I asked him this one time when he came out, I says, well, Mike, I says, how did your raspberries do? He says, well, you know what? He says, I didn't get a chance to taste them. I said, what do you mean? He says, this little booger here, he'd go out there and he'd watch those berries, see how when they get ripe, and he'd pick every ripe one and munch on them. But I don't know how they've done since, and I haven't seen him for a while.
We got a question for you. We're gonna take off right around. We said about 1:15 or so.
Yeah,
We got
me
it.
too.
Yesterday I had asked you how everybody had met their respective spouses, and I left out one important person. I left out Helen and Harry. Do you know the story of that? Because she told me once, and I remember very, very little of it.
I don't remember where she met him. I have no idea. I don't know. I know that he ran around with a fellow by the name Scotty,
That's how she met him.
through Scott.
Yeah.
And I don't know where she ever met Scott, unless he worked there at Wolferman's, because she was working at Wolferman's when she started going with Harry.
She met him through Scott.
I
I
think-
don't remember his last name.
I don't remember. All I knew him of was Scotty, and he came out several times with Harry, and they would go. I don't know who. Scotty didn't have a steady girlfriend. He went from one to the other. You know what I mean?
Butterfly.
Sometimes, well, I guess, but he didn't have a steady girlfriend. One certain girl that he went with, and most of the time he just went with them. He didn't even have a girlfriend. Just the three of them would go skating.
Mhm.
And they did do a lot of ice skating, I know that. I know that because,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Did you ever see my father sing down there at the Coliseum?
Uh-uh.
You know he did.
I didn't know that.
Really?
I didn't know that.
I got records, metal records.
You have,
Mhm.
well, I'll be darned. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Aunt Edie had them.
Well, can you beat that? She and Johnny didn't have any kids, did they?
Well, Uncle Johnny had one boy, I think. Previous marriage.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, she had those. You know, and over the years, Uncle Johnny used to take movies of us when we were little. And they're all gone. And,
Disappeared? Don't know where they went to. Well, you know, there's a lot of things that disappeared from Mama's house. We didn't know where they went to. But we finally found out where they went to. They went to Texas.
what was it?
Well, the one, she had one big picture. Oh, that picture was humongous. This big.
Mm.
And it was a World War picture. And the men had the red, it was during the red coats. They were the Englishmen, weren't they?
Revolutionary War.
Red coats. And on the picture, as I can clearly remember, I can see that there was several of them laying there dead, and this big gun,
Cannon.
big
I
cannon,
remember that picture.
hanging on Joe's wall in his hallway.
Oh, really?
And then there was a picture about this size. Or was it a square? No, the ones at this size was a picture of Mama and Daddy on their wedding day.
Hmm.
That disappeared when Aunt Vicky left. When she came down before Mama died.
It's on Vicky's wall.
If Aunt Vicky's living, if she's not living, her daughter has it, this cousin that got my doll.
Bitch.
He's laughing. He thinks that I'm terrible. Here I am, 85 years old, and still got that hatred for that cousin for getting my baby doll. Well, I worked damn hard for that doll, and I think it was. I don't believe I'd have done that to my kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I'd have done that to any of my kids. I wouldn't have made them give up their dolly for just because she didn't have one. Let her father and mother buy her one. Why should I have to give mine up for her? Well, anyhow, what were we talking about before we got on that subject?
That picture.
Yeah, and there was a picture of the perpetual help, the mother perpetual help. It was this square, and she's there with the baby in her arms, and there's a red lantern either on this side or on this side. There's a red one on one side and a blue one or green one on the other side. The Mother Perpetual Help, and it had a gold frame that wide, kind of flashed out like this around it. Mary had that too. And the old carpet that Mama had, the rug that she had and I was just, 7 years old when Mama bought that. It had a copper wire bottom. It was a wool rug, and you go to Joe's house today, and he's rolled up and behind his divan that's along this wall. And the fireplace is along here, it's behind this. Mama had some platters, just cresses, S&H cress platters, give a quarter for them, give a quarter, 50 cents for them. And I didn't have a platter to my name. And these platters, she had 4 of them, stacked about that high. And they had green ivy, English ivy leaves on it, and the brown stem. And that went all around the platter. And the time I went down there before she died, I asked her if I could have one. She says, no, I don't want to keep them. I said, okay, it didn't bother me. When I went to Mary's on her anniversary, 50th wedding anniversary, she had them in her cabinet in the kitchen, all 4 of them. And she has a jug that's about this big around, crock, and about this tall. It's blue. It's got a man. There's some kind of figurine, a well on it, or you know what I'm talking about. It's a crock, and it's in her living room, in front of her fireplace or beside her fireplace. I asked for that. You can't have it. But Mary's got it, or Joe's got it now. Ruby Jean will have it next. God only knows where it'll go when Joe dies, because she'll probably.
You gotta go to that garage sale.
That's right. That's right. A lot of things, little things that, and what got me when Mama died, and we went home after the ceremony. If I'm not mistaken, that lawyer's name was Fleming. Tiny and I and Helen were sitting on the divan here. Blondie was sitting over here. I don't remember where Albert and Mary were. And this man was so nervous because Tiny insisted that he come and read the will to us, you know. Okay. He would keep doing like this. When he get through, tips of his fingers were black. He had dye in his hair.
What did the will say?
I don't remember. I do remember this, though, that she had it stipulated that if one of us would die before she did, that my kids, say that I would pass away before she did, my kids wouldn't get a damn thing. Wouldn't get my share.
Really?
Honest to God. My kids would not get a share of the will.
Well, that hateful.
Well, shows how much she loved her grandkids. And I'll tell you another damn thing. She went down to Texas, and they took her to Mexico, and she bought silver rings and silver earrings and silver bracelets, and Ruby Jean and Rosalinda and Paula were the recipients.
I guess that'd go good with their brown noses. Be right.
And do you know that we were there in Flint Hill, in Tulsa, and the priest came over to the house, to our house, to Mama's house, and she was laying down. I don't remember whether it was me or Tiny. One of us, we Tiny and I were there, and whoever let him in. It was Tiny. I'm almost certain it was Tiny. She says, oh, yes. She says, I'm Miss Eremewicz' daughter. Well, where are you from? And she says, St. Louis. This is her other daughter. Well, where are you from? She says, St. Louis. He says, why, I didn't know that she had 2 more daughters. She didn't. Honest to God. After Daddy died, she went to Broken Arrow, and she bought candelabras for the church there. She goes to Canada, goes to Canada, and she buys candelabras for the little Catholic church up there. She comes here and won't even go to church with me because I was pregnant, and she was ashamed of me because I was pregnant. My daddy told me that.
Why
I
was
got
she
up that
ashamed?
morning, and go to church. The night before, I asked her, I said, Mom, you want to go to church with me in the morning? She, yeah, I'll get up. What time? I said, well, Mass is at 7:30. Yeah, I'll get up and go with you. So 6:45, I woke her up. I said, you got enough time now? I said, you want to get up and get dressed? I said, go and go to 7:30 Mass. Oh, honey, she says, I don't feel good. She says, I think I'll just stay home. I said, well, okay. So I just went on to church and came back and got him, told him, I said, get dressed. I said, you're going to go to church. Oh, okay. So he gets in there and gets dressed, and here she is all dressed up. She's got her navy blue dress on, her cocky hat, you know, white gloves. And I said, oh, you feel better? Oh, yes. She says, I feel much better. So Daddy and John went to church together. When they come back, I says, funny, I said, she didn't want to go to church. I was talking to Daddy. I said, funny, I said, she didn't want to go to church with me. He says, she was ashamed of you because you're a baby. I says, you gotta be kidding. No, he says, I'm not kidding.
Why would she be ashamed of that?
I don't know, honey. I don't know. I know one thing, that one of the girls, I told you about Joe Anthimatin Joe that got the chalice. His sister Louise she was the oldest of that family. They were the oldest girl in that family, the 10 kids in that family. And there was Adolph and Tony and Louise. She was the third child. When she got married, she married a man by the name of Henry Easley. Now, I'll never forget it. And they moved from Carbondale, she lived in Carbondale, to East Tulsa. We were in West Tulsa. You crossed the bridge here at East Tulsa. She and Henry moved out there somewhere, I don't know. I hadn't seen her for a long, long time. And this one Sunday morning, I went to church, and Louise was there. And here she got, I guess, you know, shit, I didn't know what was going on. And I says, Mama, when I come home from church, I says, Mama, I says, you'll never guess who I saw in church this morning. She says, who did you see? I says, I saw Louise Anthimatin. I says, she sure did get fat. And goddamn, she hit me, backhanded me like that so hard I thought she'd knock all my teeth out. She sure did get fat. I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't know what that meant. I'll tell you another story. This is God's truth. I was in the 10th grade at Marquette High School. Sister Mary Lawrence was my homeroom teacher. And the rows were like this, and I was third from the back. There must have been 8 or 9 in this row or whatever, you know, because we're 9, 3, 9, 27. No, it must have been about 7 of us. And I was the second or the third one from the back. And every morning when we go in, school started, we'd make the sign of the cross, and we'd say, Our Father, a Hail Mary, and glory be to the Father, and Jesus, make our day safe, or something, whatever it is, you know, make it sign. And then get out your catechism book, your religion book. Well, our religion book was about like this, and about this thick. We, each one of us, she started this child at this row, and go down this row. And then when this one got through, this one would take off, you know. Okay, it got to me, and just one paragraph I was to read. Well, I got to this word, and I couldn't pronounce it, and I didn't know what the hell it meant. And she was so embarrassed, she told me, she said, sit down, you didn't study your lesson. And whoever was behind me got up and finished reading the paragraph. Do you know what the word was? Pregnant. I didn't know how to pronounce it, and I didn't know what the hell the word meant. And I was 14 years old. Now you talk about an innocent.
Yeah.
An innocent. Now I'm not kidding. I'm honest to God telling you the truth. I told this. We were talking about that when I was waiting to go in. There must have been about 10 of us that had come in early, and they weren't ready for us to get in the chair, you know. They have to disinfect the chair and everything else before they can put you in there. And there was about 10 of us sitting in the waiting room there. And we start talking about, one of the ladies said something about the school, about going to school and having her grandkids going to school. And I says, something happened to me when I was going to high school. I said, I went to a Catholic high school. I said, the first class was religion. And I says, each one of us, just like I told you, each one of us had to read a chapter or read a paragraph of the lesson, and then we'd talk about it, discuss it. And I says, when it come to my time to read, I says, I got up and stood at my desk, and I got so far, and I got to this word, and I couldn't pronounce it. I didn't know what the word meant. I couldn't pronounce it. And the nun told me, sit down, you didn't study your lesson. And then the next person took from there and from all around. And I asked them, I says, you all know what the word was? No, what was it? I says, pregnant. And they laughed out loud. I said, that's God's truth. I said, I was 14 years old. I didn't know what the word meant. I didn't know how to pronounce it.